Hello, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Donigan.
And we're coming at you with, it's weird. It's our big 550. I don't know if it's big, but it's necessarily. We got 550 going on right now of the episodes. And I didn't really realize that until I was typing it in.
I didn't realize that either. I guess you do reach that point. It might be like, oh, when it's another landmark, toss that over the shoulder. Nothing like that. But I mean, it's like after you get to like, say, 200 or 300, it's like, oh, another one of those. Cool. And it's, I think the first 2 or 3, you're just kind of like, we got to do something special. Let's bring on all like our closest friends, or let's try and have like a big focus. Like, oh, it's here? Shit. I didn't plan anything.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. That's how I sort of feels like. It's one of those ones that kind of comes in. So it's like, oh, okay, it's just another number now. I guess it's just like when you start to get really old and you're like, yeah, it's like, oh, it's your 70th birthday. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. One of those things like that, But yeah, how is your house's temperature since you got that funky like second story sitting in the blazing sun burning up? Because I know that's why we sort of switched our podcast time.
Yeah, no, right now it's not too bad, mainly because I learned kind of a little hack. I mean, at 3:00 in the afternoon, it's no avoiding it. But this might be too much information. I got a fan pointed right at my balls. That's the life hack to this. Otherwise, I don't know if I could be doing this right now.
It's that kind of thing. As long as your balls are cool, the rest of your body is cool.
It just self-regulates. Like there's that line in like Batman Begins when like he's like, stop rubbing your chest. Your arms will take care of it. Like, what was it? Like, rub your chest. Rub your chest. Your arms will take care of yourself. It's kind of like, keep your balls cool, detective. Your body will
take care of itself.
Your balls will take care of themselves. Exactly. It's kind of
Rachel Gould just pulls out like this like ice pack and just sticks it in his crotch. He's like, yeah, that's what we do.
He probably, there had to be more training than that movie showed. I mean, he was probably there for a couple of years. It makes it seem like he was there for like 2 weeks, but he was probably there for a couple of years. So there's got to be things that we did not see in that whole montage, and that I'm guessing that had to be one of them.
Yeah, no, definitely. Speaking of training, like I don't know, I was watching Empire Strikes Back not that long ago, and this is the one thing I think it's always kind of weird about that one when you think about it, because they're doing the back and forth story after they leave Hoth. If I look at the Han Solo and Leia story, it feels like that happens in like maybe a maximum of like 72 hours, that whole thing. But if you're doing that, it's like, is that all that like he's training for Yoda for like, let's be honest, like maybe if he's lucky, 48 hours?
I'm not a Jedi Master yet.
Yeah. Well, and that's the only thing I always think is kind of weird about that movie, because they're trying to do that back and forth story thing, which I mean, that's fine for playing it in a movie, but like when you think of it time-wise, I like to at least assume that Luke is there for like, at least a month. You know what I mean? That's still kind of half-ass training, Shit, his dad went through 10 years with Obi-Wan Kenobi between episode 1 and like 2.
Well, at least Yoda is like, I know who his dad is, so I have an idea of what to expect. Here we fucking go. It had to be a little bit of that going on, I think. So when he was leaving, he wasn't like, both him and Obi-Wan weren't like, this is the only way. Dude, don't get in the X-Wing. Just don't. I mean,
there he goes.
We've done this shit before. We know how this goes,
Which then also makes it when like Luke's bitching, like it's like, feels like, man, it's just impossible. I can't do it. It's like, you've been working for like, 2 hours on this. Like, put some time, get some patience. You're a farmer. I thought you'd have more patience than this.
He's like, I'll never be a Jedi. He kicks a rock, or just just pouting in the corner. No, it's like
kicks R2 over.
Wow!
Just because it looks like a kicking a trash can over.
I'm sorry, R2. There's like that whole part. Like, I guess with it all spaced out, it feels like it's it does feel like it's a big rush. But at the same time, not a big rush. I guess more space. Like, you can tell they're frantic and they're all in a rush. However, spaced out, it feels like more of a more normal time. But if you just watch each of their stories, it is kind of like just. I guess that's a weird thing, because that's my favorite Star Wars movie. But I'm not gonna lie, it is probably the most meandering. But I think that was probably different for the time when you think about how many movies really started off with like, here's our main cast. Now our main casts are going off in different directions and shit does not go good.
Yeah. Then it makes me wonder, it's like, okay, when they're parked, when like Leia and Han are parked inside like the creature inside the asteroid, like then it's like, are they sitting there for like 3 weeks then? Like that's what I picture is like, is that where like that time goes on their end? It's like, yeah, we've really been hiding out.
It's a good point. I mean, I guess in space it's hard to tell what time it is. Like what? Like, oh man, it's the morning. Look, just drove by a fucking sun. Therefore, it's the morning now.
Yeah. Well, plus you're already inside an asteroid, but you're inside a creature. But just to make up with like the Luke Skywalker time frame.
Yeah, I guess that's the only way to really go off it. I don't know. It's been. I'll be honest. I kind of know that movie like the back of my hand, but it's been forever since I watched it. But it is kind of
I had like a little mini marathon not too long ago because I actually got like a Blu-ray copy of like the original theatrical versions.
I'm thinking just about the whole like, because you could say I get it's for the sake of the biggest twist in all movies, but the whole thing of like, we could probably save a lot of trouble right now. Like, look, I'm not gonna let them die. Let my father die. Like, oh, dude, I can't. Just like, should we tell him yet? No, we not yet. I think we might be making it worse, but really, like, just let him get his arm cut off.
Yeah, exactly. We're in space. It's not that big of a deal. Just get a robot hand. It's even cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
But speaking of people losing their arms and so on like that, we just went out and saw the new Dragon Ball Z Super. I love how it's got the most like Japanese style. Dragon Ball Z Super Hero. Like literally when I'm trying to type that in, it's like it's telling me that I'm spelling things wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw this. You saw the movie a little before me. I saw it yesterday, and you saw it dubbed. I saw it subtitled, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Because like on opening day at my theater, they didn't have the subtitled one yet. That came the next day, and they already had issues going on, which I've been noticing. This has kind of been a trend. I think just the movies companies / the theaters are just like not getting the greatest communication between movies because like about the last couple of months, there's been a handful of issues in the theater, and I think what it is because it's weird because nowadays it's like they send it like a digital file, so you think that'd be faster and easier, but you could just see people just going like, oh yeah, it's Thursday. Did you send out that digital file to the theaters? Oh yeah, it's okay, it's uploaded now. Like dude, you're updating your Xbox at the same time. Like, oh yeah, it's okay, it'll get to them in time. Because this seems to happen a lot, and I mean this happened when Jurassic Park 6 came out. There was literally, I was going to a showing where it was going to be Jurassic Park 1 and Jurassic Park 6. Well, Jurassic Park 1 couldn't get played inside. And then you see like there's like the boy comes out. He's just like, oh, I'm trying, folks. I'm really trying up there. I can't figure it out. And someone's just like, just push play on the film reel. It's like, it's not a film reel. I'm trying to get the file. I'll be back. And then like, it's like a half an hour later, everybody's sitting there. There's just some old lady being like, well, can I get a refund for the whole thing because of all the hassle going on right now?
I love it when boomers say hassle. Like they have to go.
It has like
they're returning something. Like they're returning something. Like, oh, I'm sorry, you have to take this back to the location you bought it from. But that's all the way around town. Like, well, I'm sorry, that's the rules to go across town. And like, oh, I can't drop it off here either. This is such a hassle. Fucking hassle. Fucking sitting in a fucking chair in the dark, waiting to watch a fucking dinosaur eat the guy from Eats Newman. What?
Yeah, plus, you're sitting there eating popcorn and drinking a big tall boy like soda. Like, literally, life can't get much better. Let's be honest.
I also like just the narrative of it being like, it's not whoever, it's probably, I just like the idea of like, hey, Tim, yeah. Look, we know you got social anxiety. We know you don't know this system that well, but Frank can't make it in today. So you're going to have to want to do it. Like, oh, okay. All right. I think I can do that. Can you? Yeah. There's a lot riding on this. It's not just Jurassic Park 6. It's also Jurassic Park 1. It's gonna be a lot of people mad if they can't watch this movie. But you're just being really. I don't think we gotta build it up like that. I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine. All right, just don't fuck it up. Like, oh, okay. And then he gets there, like so much worse than what he could have imagined, and just that guy has to go out and be like, "Oh, sorry, folks, I'm doing my best." And there's always like 2 or 3 people just try and take advantage of that. Just like, oh, this guy's nervous. He's weak. Now's the time to pounce. There's blood in the water.
Exactly, you know. And then I almost want to say when I went to see the Brad Pitt Bullet Train movie, they also had kind of issues there. And of course, the boy at the counter, you know, he tells me, he's like, oh, you know what? Here's the thing. This is what's going to go down. He's like, we got the movie just in, so there's not going to be any trailers, not going to be previews. I hope you're okay with that. You're like, cool, that saves me a half an hour. That kind of works for me. Not that I don't like seeing trailers, but sometimes trailers get out of hand. And but no, go in there. And then you could tell once they start playing the previews and the trailers, they're like, oh, they're having issues. So they're trying to buy the time now. But since the guy announced at the beginning, now it just looks like he's an asshole.
But if you just kind of look back at the like window, you just kind of see like the tops of heads and hands. Just see like this shit, like you see like just silhouettes of like just tops of heads and hands just flailing like you know, if you're ironing out.
It's actually get projected on the screen like they were standing in front of the projector, so it looked like just some shadow puppet like story going.
Some sound goes out for a second.
The other guy at some point. Then there's this like feud and a fight, and then it's almost like you see the guys like taking the other guy down, like like he's just got his first kill. And he's like carrying the body, dragging across Metal Gear Solid style, stuffing it in some locker. Like, man, there's a lot of detail coming out of that window.
That old bitch is still sitting there, arms crossed, like, I'm still waiting on Jurassic Park 1, goddammit.
You know, the sad part of it is they didn't play Jurassic Park 1. The guy comes out, it's like, I'm sorry, I just can't get it. You know, Universal's just being a dick right now. So is it okay if we just play number 6? It's okay to play number 6. And I guess for me, I'm like, I guess I've seen Jurassic Park 6 times in the theaters already. I mean, I wanted a 7th one, but you know what I mean? I feel like I'm like Lee Haney going in like, you know, I kind of wanted to outbeat Arnold Schwarzenegger's, you know, win of Mr. Olympia. But, you know, okay, whatever. It'll come another time.
Yeah, I mean, no, I want people who are just clicking on this just for the sake of Dragon Ball. Like, get the fucking Dragon Ball already. But on that note, there is something about I'm just thinking about that poor boy in the booth. There is something about people, like, the second they sense, like, not everybody, but some people, the second they sense that someone's new or nervous, it's like, they just like, what can I get a discount? Those guys can give me a discount. They immediately, like, there's this weird primal thing that kicks in. And I remember, like, you know, when I first moved to San Francisco and started my job there, I was like, the fear of losing the job and not being able to pay for the apartment was really real for the first month or two. So I was just like, oh, hey guys, one second, I just got to check things with my supervisor. Yeah, well, we think we should get a discount. We should get the second you drop the thing of like, hey, yeah, what do you want? No, it's not happening. What? All that? Oh, what do you mean? That goes away. It's like that. Just like, oh, this usually works. Why is it not working no more? Well,
yeah, exactly. Well, and then
we can go across the street. We'll go across the street. Oh.
Yeah, by all means, go buy a bike yourself. Jesus Christ. But by the time it got to Dragon Ball, like, because I saw the second showing of the day, when I get there, I see my buddy Alex is outside, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've been here since 5:30." Like, and the next showing was 7:50. He's like, "Yeah, the first one they couldn't get running, so like we're just all now waiting for like the 7:50 showing." So and then when I get in there, what are you gonna say?
Well, so it's like the next showing is just going on to check out the following show, and so you just got people sitting each other's laps for this one.
Yeah, well, like that's like I kind of made me like, there's got to be some math, because nowadays it's like everything's reserved seats. There's no such thing as just free ball in the theater anymore, you know. So, but like it's weird because then we get up there, get to the counter, and the boys like, okay, we got the file going. There's gonna be no previews. There's gonna be no ads. We're gonna roll with it. It's gonna be awesome. This guy feels confident, so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It saves me. All I think about is like, good. That means I get home at an earlier time. I'm like, that's fine. Get in there. 7:50 comes up. Screen's still black. Okay. I mean, kind of gotta expect this. Next thing you know, the pre-ads start rolling. I'm like, they're biding time again.
Been here before.
I've seen this. Pre-ads go for a while. Then trailers start rolling. I'm just like, okay, I mean, whatever, you know. I mean, just the boy promised, but that's okay. I get it. Downloading digital files can be tough, you know. I know it's like one of those ones. There's like any job. There's definitely more issues going on than like one person would know, and it's not like, you know. But there is that thing where you're like, it's not like you're putting together a film reel up there, buddy.
Yeah.
But like I still gotta get it, and it's like, God, yeah, okay, well, and now the movie started like 8:40, and we just got like three there's like they've now crammed like 3 screenings of people into one now because it's like the only one they could get going.
I just like the idea of it being like there's got to be like, that's old man Jasper. Who's old man Jasper? He's the only one. He's the only one that knows how to work the old-fashioned like projectors. Like, hey, you kids like it digital. It ain't like it used to be. Trust me. Projectors are the only thing to go. This machine right here, she lets you know when she's happy. She lets you know when she needs trouble. You just got to listen and you got to respect it. This computer, they got a mind their own. I've seen that Terminator shit. I was the one, I projected all 3 movies.
Yeah.
Don't tell. All right. Oh, yeah, Jasper, we know, but we can teach you how to do like the digital thing. Fuck you. Give me my golden watch. I'm out. And then like, oh, this shit's happening. Like, oh, he's a fossil. We don't need him. No, son, this is happening. There's old Jasper sitting in the back being like, I tried to tell him.
Has he ever left this room before? No, he's been literally retired in here for 30 years. It'd be funny if he's like, I'll get it working for you, but it's a digital file. Boy, don't you second guess me. He's up there, he's all converting the digital file into film, just like on the spot.
I was 45 when I first projected Taxi Driver, all right? I know what I'm doing.
I'll get it running for you guys. You don't worry about that. I don't worry about you.
I even forgot you're here. Go to this movie. Go to the thing at hand. I'll say, like, anime, I know it's a big, like, most people usually prefer subtitles. I can kind of go either way. It depends on the anime for me.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Ball is one of the few I prefer the dub just because those are the voices I imagine going back. I've just heard those voices for so long, and it's mostly the same cast over the last 30 years. So that's what ultimately comes to mind. Though, even though I saw the subtitle one, it didn't bother me. I was still able to feel like Dragon Ball and all that. I'm not one of those people like, it's going too fast. I was able to pick up on it. I mean, even though I like this movie, but how much plot is there really? At the end of the day, it's not like, oh, fuck, I feel lost. What's happening?
Oh, yeah, no, it's totally Dash back one. Actually, really quickly, there's one thing I wanted to add to that projector thing, because it took me a split second to think about it. But it always reminds me of, like, when I have to take because I have a manual car, so, like, if I ever go to, like, any valet parking, that's, like, one of my favorite things when they see it and they go, oh, it's a manual car or something like that. I remember, like, at the hospital, there was, like, literally, like, 8 people, but none of them could drive a manual car. They literally bring this lady out, like literally it felt like they brought her out of retirement. This, like, 80-year-old lady came, like, I can handle it. out of the way, kids. But that's, like, everywhere I go, I love that part, because I like, if I have to valet park something, it's like, yeah, by all means, you'll figure it out. You just see the boys, like, which just feels like, well, it's like, how do you get a valet job without knowing how to drive a manual? I mean, I know that, like, that's probably only, like, 2% of the cars that ever show up anymore, but still.
They told they warned me about this my first day of training. Now, you might get a manual, but let's be honest, you're probably not going to get a manual. So, here, hold on to this pamphlet if you do. Go off that. Then he's just like, where the fuck's the pamphlet?
Yeah, exactly. But my favorite part, they always have to bring out, like, literally the oldest person that probably works there comes out. They always have to do that. Like, I don't even think half the time it's even somebody who is a valet driver. I think they just make a call to everybody, like, does anybody know how to drive a manual? Does anybody know how to drive a manual?
They just have, like, the red phone they pick up. They're just like, hey, someone needs to come in out of retirement. And just, like, all of a sudden, like, a Meals on Wheels van rolls up. And, like, old person gets out, Back in Black is playing.
Exactly.
Give me the keys, son.
It's like, does this person work for Meals? No, they get deliveries. They just overheard the call. It picked up on their hearing aid. But yeah.
Throw them the keys. Their arm breaks when they catch it.
Just goes over, catches it, and then goes backwards over like it weighs too much. Breaks their back. Good thing we're in a hospital.
Yeah. Well, we're already here. All right, we'll have to call another valet. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, going back to Dragon Ball, like, I got the dub version. And now, granted, Dragon Ball is like one of those ones, because I feel like I kind of go back and forth on dub and subtitles. It's generally, if I don't like if the dub's kind of crappy, then I definitely want the subtitles. If it's a live action movie, I definitely want the subtitles, and unless it's like Italian ones, mostly you can't get it that way. That's just kind of how they're made. But so I had the dub, so you do kind of get, even though I think some of the voices have sort of changed as time goes on, because some of them that, like, I mean, Maybe Bulma is the same, but Bulma's voice feels different like nowadays than it used to. I know Goku and Piccolo and Vegeta and all those guys are generally all the same.
Frieza's voice changed. I want to say now they're going with the voice actor from Kai, because it wants to be like, it is I, Frieza, to being kind of more of like a pompous, kind of poshy kind of voice.
Yeah.
Now. Frieza's not even in this movie. I'll say I appreciate this movie because I feel like after a while, Dragon Ball as a franchise overall kind of disregards anybody who is not Goku or Vegeta.
Yes.
Kind of everybody else gets the bench. And there was a period where it's like, okay, cool, Trunks had a moment, this character had a moment. But basically ever since Majin Buu, I feel like anybody else gets pushed aside, and what's the point, you know? Now, what I've seen of Super, I gotta get back to watching Super. I was enjoying it, but I'm told that they do things like, oh, well, Krillin, they actually make Krillin the tactician. So there, you see there's a reason for him to be there, and they expand on Tien, and they acknowledge Yamcha as a joke, but, you know...
Poor Yamcha.
They kind of like meme... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I always feel bad for Yamcha because that's like one of my favorite characters, and I feel that's always kind of the Dragon Ball Z issue is that they don't utilize the non-Saiyan characters very well.
Well, there's apparently I have not, I got to get further into it, but there's an episode in Super that James was telling me about, and I actually looked up clips of it. It's pretty funny. They're playing baseball. The main cast, including Beerus and Whis and all them, we're all playing baseball together, and nobody has the patience or the ability, or people are too powerful, and they're just kind of like, they keep fucking up. And Yamcha, he's going for a ball. He's going for a base at some point. He makes it, but someone throws a blast down, and then they show it's literally the same position, but his hands on the base of when he blew up, like from the Cyberman, same position, and like Vegeta's like, I've seen this before, you know. So it's like, well, Yamcha won. Yamcha's the only one that got a base, so I guess we win because of Yamcha, you know. Yeah. So at least they're acknowledging that. And this movie, it's really, they say it's a Gohan Piccolo movie. It's more of a Piccolo movie than anything.
Yeah, realistically, because Gohan's actually not really in it very much until the end, you know. And I think that's almost like the best part of the movie is the fact that it focuses on Piccolo, because Piccolo's always the guy. He always feels like he's kind of like this. He's been like the C character forever. Like he's there, but he never is able to be. He's the guy who holds things off until Goku gets there or somebody more powerful. He always feels like like that, and it's just like. It's always been kind of a bummer because I feel like Piccolo's always in the back, and it's always like he's just always 2 steps behind everybody else. Like he'll get more powerful, and then somebody else will get way more powerful than him, and then he has to go absorb somebody else, and it's like after a while he's literally absorbed his entire race practically. So I'm surprised it's not at the end of the day he's like sneaking into like Dende's room. It's like just trying to absorb him in the middle of the night. I need the fucking power, power. He's creating his own genocide. Just absorbing everybody, you know. But so I think in this one, it's cool that 1, Piccolo gets to be the main character. 2, he actually gets to be super powerful. They finally, I think just that orange Piccolo thing, it's like, good, there you go. That's a perfect way to keep Piccolo in the game and keep him just as powerful as everybody else.
Orange Chad Piccolo, he just gets a lot more stockier, has like a Piccolo with like a fucking jawline.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was so cool, you know.
Well, it's also one of those things where it's a weird, what this feels like an equivalent to. It's not the same story, obviously. It feels something kind of like if you took the Garlic Jr. saga and you made that a movie. It feels kind of like that, where at a first, well, I mean, this actually does maybe have, if they will, I'm assuming they'll continue doing Dragon Ball stuff, but this does have long-term effects on the overall series, because, you know, Piccolo has a new form, and then they also bring in like Gohan's back in the game, and they acknowledge how Gohan's almost becoming his dad, but in a different kind of way to a certain extent. And then, which I think they could have elaborated on. And then they also, like, the big thing at the very end, and we don't even see it. Well, we see the end of it. Vegeta finally beats Goku, and it's a post-credit scene at the end. Like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it's just like they technically just tucker each other out, and all it really is more that Goku just goes down before Vegeta like 2 seconds beforehand. You know, it's one of those ones. Like they also got like a double KO realistically, but just because Goku fell first.
Yeah, and I thought so. I think that there's things I think this movie could have done more, but I overall liked it, you know. And I think I like the little. It's not Broly. We'll get that out of the way. It's not Broly.
Yeah, Broly, that one's super good. You know, to the max. You know, I think one of the things that there's a couple things that kind of get this movie, even though overall I really enjoyed it. It's like it does have the kind of like they go a little bit too hardcore on that CG animation instead this time. So it looks like it's literally like animated like in almost like anime studio because it has like that vector looking graphics the whole time. You know, so it's got that weird thing of it looks like an extremely good looking like internet cartoon, like, or extremely good looking Newgrounds cartoon. That's almost like how it looks instead of having like traditional 2D animation.
Which it's Dragon Ball. It's one of the most profitable things out there. So I'm surprised with this style animation.
Yeah, and I know that the Broly one had some of that kind of animation in it, but it still kind of was like at least a mixed match between like traditional animation and CG animation. And as I said, like, because at first I'm seeing in like the credits, I'm like, oh, okay, this is just going to be like an intro credits kind of scene. They're just going to use it for like a flying around thing. And then it's like, oh, no. They're sticking with this kind of animation, I guess. You know, and it almost at first, it's kind of that thing. It's almost like, remember like when Beware the Batman came out? And it took about a couple episodes to sort of get used to that look of the CG animation. But then once you kind of got used to it, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm fine with it now, whatever.
Yeah, that kind of happened with me. I mean, it's also a lot of times that animation, that like cell shaded vector animation thing. It's kind of like if you freeze frame it, it looks just like a really well done like screenshot of like a traditional anime. But then you see him move and like, oh, that's where it is. Okay.
The moving's the uncanny part, I think.
And I think there are moments where I kind of forgot that I was watching that, but there are moments where it's very obvious I was watching that. So it's kind of like yeah, because I feel like they utilized the 3D cell shaded thing in moments of Broly, but it wasn't the whole thing.
Yeah. It felt like just to get a certain shot, like a spinning shot or something like that, they used it, but then not there. Well, this one they do here, and I feel like that's kind of going to be the thing about this movie. Then who knows? This could be the new style from this point on. Probably because whenever I see this, I always feel like it's like, hey, this cuts down on, you know, time, effort, employees, all that kind of stuff. I always feel like that's why they go with this kind of style, you know. Yeah. And it just makes. Because it's like, you know, one of the toughest things for like 2D animation is to do a spinning shot / you know, a fast moving, like if it's kind of flowing. That's like, you know, I mean, like that, because you got to draw every single thing like that. So I know that by doing it in 3D, you eliminate that completely. Because I almost think that this movie's one of those ones where all these characters, it's just like they just make 3D models of them, and that's it. Once it's that there, they just have animators like literally rig and move them that way.
I also feel like this might be a test. I'm not sure if they're continuing Dragon Ball, like doing the Star Trek thing, just continuing Dragon Ball through movies, or if it's getting a new, well, I guess now there's a new Star Trek show or whatever, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's like 4 of them.
Yeah. But like there's that period where it was only just like, we're going to continue it, but it's going to be through movies. I'm not sure if they're doing that with Dragon Ball, or if they're just having a new Dragon Ball Super show or Dragon Ball something else like in a year or two. That said, I think this is meant to be kind of like let's test the waters. Let's see if we can get away with this. And rather than focus on Goku and Vegeta, let's go on Gohan and Piccolo. And the thing I thought was interesting, because I do feel like it's obvious ever since Cell Saga, Gohan has kind of taken a back seat. And then he is the main character for a little while until Goku gets back and they have Majin Buu. And there's that moment where they tease you and they make you think like, wait a minute. Like Gohan's the last line of defense against Majin Buu. Then he fucks up because he gets overly confident, and then we have to call in Goku and Vegeta again. So I feel like that, and they've acknowledged like, yeah, he's not a fighter anymore. And the idea of him just kind of like becoming like his dad, where he's so, rather than focusing on his training, he's just focused on work. I think that was an interesting thing, but they didn't really acknowledge it that much. Piccolo acknowledges it. But
well, I love how Piccolo shows up and he like literally comes out like almost like if you had a friend who kind of started changing into something else, and Piccolo shows up at like the side window, like knock on it. Hey, Gohan, you want to come out and train? No, I'm working here on science. Well, that's fucking stupid. Come on, let's go out and train like the good old days. Come on, what are you gonna need reading for when you got a good fist to punch in the face?
Yeah. Well, there's even that thing. It's like I was expecting that thing with bugs that turn gold. I was expecting that to come back around in some way. Like, no, we just found bugs that glow. Like, that's fucking nerd shit, you know? And I do like, but there's something I really like about this movie. It's the expansion on Piccolo, because you see he's still out there training, and he has like a smartphone, and when he holds it, it's just the small details. Like, because Dragon Ball is all about the fighting, all about the action and cool character design, really.
Yeah.
But it's the small details they do with Piccolo here and there. Like when he holds the phone, people watching could see this. He holds it kind of like this, like he doesn't really trust it, like he doesn't know what to do, like just holding on the top with 2 fingers, like he's grossed out, like he's picked up a bag of dog shit or something.
And I love how he just like leaves it in the house too, like, and then it's like he hears that from like way off in the distance, like, ugh.
And like he's got a good relationship with Pan, Gohan's daughter, which I thought they did a good job with her, because I thought, like, is she gonna be annoying like she is in GT? Like, oh no, she's cool in this. And then,
well, she's only like 2 years old or 3 years old.
She is, but she's hyperactive and she just wants to fight, and she's like Uncle Piccolo, all that kind of stuff. I just thought that was really cute. And then
I also just love how they're like, they're just kind of like, Piccolo doesn't care about money, so we don't have to pay him for, like, he can just raise the kid for us practically.
And then you see the size of that house. They can't afford a nanny. What the fuck you telling me?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, that house is like ridiculous, and then like, yeah, Piccolo's just off like hoboing it. Though, like, surprised Vidal's like, Gohan, you want to leave it with that weird green hobo guy that just comes around, and he doesn't even come through the front door. He just goes to like the window.
He does the Carissa explain it's all minus the ladder. Yeah. He was like, the whole thing is. I just like that part, because he just like, all right, Piccolo, we'll buy you a nice lunch. Like, how many times do I have to tell you I don't eat? All I drink is water. We'll get you another plushie. He just looks at the corner. There's like a big corner, like, full of plushies. Like, and he's just kind of, why do they think I like plushies? Why?
I didn't like the first one.
But the thing is, even though he doesn't like them, even though he doesn't want them, because he's Piccolo and he has a sense of honor, and because he kind of looks at Gohan as his son, he's like, I'll keep him.
Yeah. So he's got all that stuff, and Vidal's just kind of almost like clueless to who Piccolo really is. I think she just thinks of him as like, hey, I feel like because of her dad's like the kind of person who would take his full advantage of like free labor.
Oh, definitely.
I mean? So I feel like it's probably rubbed off a bit on Vidal.
Exactly. Never turn down a good deal, Vidal. Never. Just ask yourself, what would Satan do?
Yeah. Satan being your dad, not the other Satan.
Him too, but if he's got a good deal, well, sell that soul right away.
Sell it, you know what I mean? Money now is better than money later.
What'd you think of all the Red Ribbon Army stuff?
Well, it's kind of cool because like I love how also in the movie, like at least in the dub version, because who knows if the dub and subtitle it has any different kind of language, but it's just like when they went to go talk about the Red Ribbon Army, because they have some kind of catch-up things, they're like, well, some of you old folks sitting there in the audience may know who we're going to be talking about next, so you youngins, listen up. I was just like, wow, that sure made me feel kind of old. For the folks that are about 3 generations ago, you're going to understand what we're talking about here. For you little like 8-year-olds sitting there in the audience, well, good fucking luck.
Your dad dragged you to this. Let's not bullshit.
Yeah, let's not. Yeah, you want to go see something else, you want to see some My Hero Academia or something like that. But you're here at Dragon Ball because you know what? You need to be taught to be a man.
It's funny you say My Hero Academia, because the theater I go to, it's actually pretty good about showing if like one of these newer, more popular anime movies comes out, like My Hero Academia or Jujutsu, whatever that one's called, or Dragon Ball. They always have a screening. And when I printed my ticket out, a little kiosk thing, one part of it said Dragon Ball, one part of it said My Hero Academia, and I was like, wait, was there a My Hero Academia movie playing here? And I just messed up, or somebody just like, same fucking thing, just leave it on the ticket, it's a typo. And I would just double check with somebody. I'm seeing Dragon Ball, right? This isn't a ticket to a My Hero Academia movie or anything.
The guy's like, I don't know, you'll find out once the movie starts rolling.
Yeah.
Well, that puts a lot of confidence in there.
Is there a lot of yelling and punching? Ah, same thing. That theater is ran by a bunch of Zoomers, so they look like they would know the difference probably.
That's like, I remember one time when I went to go see a Studio Ghibli movie in theaters, and it starts rolling and it goes through all the trailers and everything like that. I want to say literally when the movie started, like the credit roll of Star Wars started coming down, because I think it might have been right when Force Awakens came out. And then it was just like one of those ones that was like, what? And then also it's like, oh, my bad, wrong movie clip. Oh, we'll change it right over.
It sounds like fucking Regal Stadium.
That's 10. Not Regal that did that. That was
okay.
That was AMC.
Okay, well, fuck.
But yeah, just one of those ones, just some of that. It is kind of nice though that we finally are like, I feel like this is like what our generation's finally like accomplished. Like, yes, we finally got anime movies to be predominant in theaters now. You can generally go to any theater and at least be able to see a few anime movies. It's a work in progress, but it's getting there.
I think, well, it's a couple of things, because kids, and I say kids as in like people in their like late teens, early 20s, are fine with anime. It's not like it's somewhat niche, but not as much as we used to. I mean, I drove past like there's a sandwich shop I like that's not too far from like a university in Santa Rosa, and a bunch of college kids walking by, ranging from typical otaku types to, you know, hot punk rock girl, and they all had a lot of them had like My Hero Academia or Attack on Titan t-shirts or something like that. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, I know it's more popular than it was when we were kids, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, we're probably not far off from like just a normal anime movie coming to theaters. It doesn't have to have some big like IP attached to it or something.
Yeah, I mean, that still might be a little bit off, because that's still even hard for foreign movies to come to theaters because of that. But at some point, I feel like it's making progress like every single day, and I think that's just the cool part. I mean, even this Dragon Ball, but this movie made more money than that Idris Elba movie.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, that all these whenever like an anime movie, like a Demon Slayer movie or whatever comes out. Mm-hmm. There's always like people who are experts on like the box office projections and all that. Surprisingly, some Japanese cartoon fucking beat like a bunch of other movies. Isn't that fucking weird? Like, look at what teenagers, look at the shit they're into, and also ask yourself who has the most expendable income. You know, so
yeah, well, even nowadays the thing is, Dragon Ball is like the age range of it's gotten pretty far, so it's like one of those ones like, you know, like, cause that's actually one of the few shows that really kind of like literally like, it's almost like I feel like, you know, from 40 on backwards, you know, there's Dragon Ball fans like all the way around, you know what I mean? And in Japan, even probably farther up, you know, 60 on backwards and so on, you know. And I think that's just the thing, is that like it keeps and it rolls over. It's almost like that one. It's like, it's kind of like the new show that like a man can show to like his son and be like, it's a father-son bonding moment. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's what the show is going to really become. Cause I mean, that's literally what the stories kind of is. It's literally like, cause you don't think about it, but it's like, it's grandpa, son, and, you know, grandson. Like, that's pretty much what these stories all kind of are. It's like a generation of like sharing, like, you know, the fighting knowledge and so on.
It is that at the end of the day. And I know a lot of people who have kids and try to get their kids into Dragon Ball, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, because it's like this kid's like, you're so lame, Dad. You watch cartoons.
You're trying to solve problems through fighting. It's lame.
It's so like old-fashioned.
No, not always the case, but I think that there's just something about I don't know, just Dragon Ball. I think also it coming to America kind of late gave it that gust of second wind, really, because, you know, came to America. We were late to it, and that rejuvenated.
Well, we got it in '97 for that. That's like the initial American launch, and most people, you know, didn't even know about it. Like Dragon Ball, I remember because it took a moment for it to get popular. Because I remember like watching it right when it came on Toonami. Because actually, technically, Kyle's the one who watched. He's like, "Dude, you see this show Dragon Ball Z yesterday?" And then I was just like, "Oh, okay, gotta check that out now." And then I remember like it was one of those ones, you know, a handful of people I knew watch it and didn't think much of it. But it was like it had like a real big resurgence like in 2001 and 2. I remember people getting like hardcore into them, like. Have you ever not been watching it since like '97? Where the hell were you guys? But like, I guess a lot of people just missed out on it. Maybe they just didn't have Cartoon Network or something like that, or they didn't have Viz Media.
Yeah, well, I remember it was probably the second anime I really got into, and even though Pokemon's fallen by the wayside, Dragon Ball hasn't. I mean, it's not my favorite anime like it probably once was, but I still really like it a lot. But and
Yeah,
this movie, if you don't like Dragon Ball, it's not going to change your mind. But for
yeah.
I think longtime fans, I feel like some people don't like it because of the way they made it, and maybe just the maybe lack of Goku or Vegeta. But I'm happy they kind of gave Goku and Vegeta the bench. They're in there for like one scene and then a post credit scene. And the one thing is, I think this movie could have focused a little bit more on like, because I feel like they're kind of repeating information, and there's too much of Piccolo going back and forth, spying on these guys, leaving, getting into a quick fight for a second, then letting things unfold till we get to the end. I think it could have been a little bit more of like mission or goal oriented, you know?
Oh yeah. It definitely could have been, and so on like that. And I really think anybody who's a pure Dragon Ball fan, they like the idea that Piccolo's kind of there. I feel like the only people is like, if you just started watching Dragon Ball like a week ago, and then you saw that Goku wasn't in it, you'd be like, "What? I thought he was the main character." I think that's the only person who'd be bitching about that, is somebody who just got into Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think anybody who's a hardcore fan, I think would be like, "Oh no, this is actually the coolest thing that they made Piccolo." You know. A big character and so on. But I will say that is kind of, because I will say even like the last couple of movies, like, you know, the Frieza one, Broly and everything like that, sometimes these movies for like the first 20 minutes start off a little bit retarded, like, you know, like in a sense where like you're kind of like
barbecue or a birthday or something.
Yeah, like something a little too slapsticky, you know. And it's like one of those ones, I know Dragon Ball's always had comedy in it, but I definitely think sometimes it goes a little bit like kind of extreme on it, you know. And then like, you know, it's like, because you got the villains in this one, and you got Dr. Giro's like grandson or whatever, and he's just this like he looks like Pugsley from Addams Family, but he's just this like
Pugsley,
fat little guy who's into like superheroes. And you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me like that Japanese. Okay, you know how like in the early 2000s, Americans are like, we're losing the kids to anime. What do we gotta do? Disguise Teen Titans as an anime. That's the only thing we can do. That's how we're gonna get them back in. For some reason, this feels like this one where like Japan's going, we're losing the kids to superheroes again. How are we gonna fix this? Dragon Ball Z, disguise it with put some superhero stuff in there. We'll get them back in.
My Hero Academia too.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing that. So you got the fat little Jiro kid, and he's just like, he's child genius. He's inventing robots just like his father, working on all kinds of stuff. And I love how like there's like Captain Red from the Red Ribbon Army is like, I think, is it his grandson or just his regular son? Maybe it's just his regular son.
I think it might be his son, or yeah.
We got so much lineage going
Magenta
here.
Or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's funny. They're like riding in the van. He's like, hey, I'll work you over. Hey, you little fatty, here's some Oreos. And then it's just like, and then like he's like, well, he finishes like the stack of Oreos. Just like, well, I'm not too sure if I want to work for the Red Ribbon Army. He's like, that's okay, fatty. Have some more Oreos. Well, if that's the case, then. And then it's even got like scenes where it shows me he's like scraping off the Oreo like cream and eating them slow and stuff, and just really getting into it. And then there's a weird scene that happens where like they get like into the car shuffles, and all of a sudden there's just this upward camera shot of like the fat kid's crotch, and then the upward camera shot of like Magenta's crotch. And it's just like, especially when it's in theaters, I think it makes it, if you would have watched it at home, you would have been like, oh, that's kind of weird. But when you're in theaters, you're like, Jesus.
It's the part when the car's spinning around or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like this giant crotch shot of like a 14-year-old boy and a 62-year-old man, just like a really bizarre, maybe not that old, 52-year-old man.
Maybe I misread it, but I think I saw like in the subtitle version it said he was like 24.
Oh, the kid now?
Maybe I misread something. But
maybe it was. Well, because when I think 16, I kept thinking, because that's like when they, when they're going through his history and so on.
To be fair, he looks like a little kid. He looks like he just got like
because I thought he's supposed to be just like child genius kind of guy, but that probably makes more sense. I mean, let's be honest, that's still a kid, 26 years old.
Yeah. All that said, though, like I found myself kind of liking that character. I mean, he probably couldn't run a whole movie or anything, but at the end of the day, I found myself like, well, he's a character, even though he's the grandson of Dr. Gero, he still has this he likes superheroes enough to where he just wants to create superheroes, but he doesn't want them to do like villainous things. It's just kind of a means to an end, working with Red Ribbon. And when they decide they're going to go kidnap Pan, he's like, I didn't create them for this. And he gets a little bit kind of like, but like means to an end. We'll work through this. And he kind of starts to step in at some point. And also to the point he's so like thought ahead of everything that he can like take a gunshot and survive.
Yeah, because he with all his inventions, he's got like super strong skin and all kinds of stuff like that. And then with like the couple, like, because he creates this 1 and 2 kind of superhero android robot things, and see, this is probably where it's different with the subtitled version. Is the 2, they did that thing. They're like, hey, that Sonic the Hedgehog movie's popular. Can we just get somebody to do that Sonic voice for 2? But if it's
is
not
it
really
Roger Craig Smith, that'd be crazy if it is.
No, it's not. But it's literally that thing where it's just like the Sonic the movie.
Oh yeah, I know, but like that kind of like I'm just thinking because Roger Craig Smith does do anime and voiceover, so that'd be interesting if he happened to voice these guys. Like, just do Sonic.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like, so it's just got the Sonic the Hedgehog movie voice, but it's like that works for the movie. That doesn't really for other characters. That can be really annoying. That voice. I guess that's it's almost kind of the Ryan Reynolds sort of acting style.
Well, I guess 1, like they made it so 1 was the serious one, and 2 was the jokey guy. And how those 2 androids think they're good guys. They don't realize they're working for the bad guys. Do they do things where like they write it in such a way to make it kind of like of the moment where they don't because every so often they would dub things like they'd put like more Western references and things like no
like
way that was written by a Japanese guy. Yeah,
like Loop on the Third, like where they mentioned their eBay account. I'm like, do you realize this is a 70s show? Like, I feel like it's one of those ones, if you're like a, like 11-year-old kid watching this and you go, dude, what are you guys fucking retarded? Like, come on, dude. Like, seriously.
There was I remember, I didn't really like it, but I give a few episodes of that High School of the Dead show. And there's a part where they come across like somebody's gun collection. Like, who is this? Sarah fucking Palin? I'm like, oh, come on. This is not, that I doubt it. I'd be surprised if that was put in there by a Japanese writer.
Yeah, well, that's always where there's that thing where people go like, they're like, no, just stick to the Japanese script. I mean, like, word it so that it comes out like an American dialogue, but don't add. I think that's the thing people always kind of hate. I remember because I see in like something where they're like, when we come in to adapt it, like we can't just do it just the way the Japanese kind of did it. That would be weird. We have to write our own stuff in there and put our own ideas. Like, no, like once again, you adapt it so it doesn't sound like, because obviously the Japanese dialect's going to be different, but like, don't you dare start writing your own stuff in there thinking you're some creative writer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they didn't do anything like that. It was just more the characterization.
Yeah, no, just the way he sort of talked and so on, and just like he just kind of had just kind of like some kind of goofy, dumb lines, just the way he sort of said it. But I felt like that was the part where I'm like, this is probably where the Japanese version with the subtitles would be definitely better.
I mean, there was the funny guy and there was the serious guy, but it wasn't anything too bad or too jarring that I noticed with them. I do like the thing that because when he punches Piccolo a few times, they have the Adam West pow, schmam, all that kind of stuff. Uh-huh. And then like Piccolo even says, where are those words coming from? And then at some point he's doing different posing and you realize there's something in his enhancements that make holograms of like onomatopoeias pop up behind him. I'm like, all right, I'll bite. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I thought that stuff was all pretty neat there and so on. It wasn't that those characters weren't, they weren't more like they're bad. It was just like, yeah, he just had kind of a goofy voice for the dub, but beyond that, there still was kind of interesting stuff. And I did like kind of like the Red Ribbon Army's been here this whole time. It's just been like super underground, and even though they kind of do thing, it almost makes you kind of laugh because that it's just like being a joke, but they're like they hit it as the Red Pharmaceutical Company, like with the same looking logo. Oh, it's just like it's not serious. That like they know exactly what they're saying right there.
It's just like
it's like Umbrella Corporation.
Exactly. Well, it's also something to the degree of like I don't think that they look to make anything. So here's something I could say about what I've seen of Super as well as the new movies, and that includes Superhero. It does this thing where for a while, even though I say this is Dragon Ball is one of my favorite animes, it does this thing where it's just kind of like this big empty void. It's just kind of like there's the city. Only thing in the city is people running away whenever there's like a battle happening. Beyond that, we go out into the Badlands and have a big, awesome, cool battle out there. And we don't really know exactly how the world works outside of, Capsule Corp and our cast of main characters. And then this, it was kind of interesting seeing what the world is for a minute away from Goku, away from Gohan, and the Red Ribbon Army. And we know they have bad information, but like how people would devise certain ideas and come to certain conclusions from what they've seen in television, from like the Cell games and all that kind of stuff. So that idea of like, we think Bulma actually might be an alien. There's reports of people flying around Capsule Corp. Who has that kind of a power? These people always there, Mr. Like this kind of like conspiracy theory stuff that we see in the Dragon Ball world, which is stuff I don't think, I mean, maybe in Super, it becomes more prevalent, but I remember in Z, it was like, they're fighting. Who gives a shit? And I think that's fine for the most part. But after a while, you kind of want to know a little bit more,
Well, that's what I thought was kind of interesting because it's something that, as I said, I just don't remember from Dragon Ball Z, at least not in our American versions, I guess. But like, was the fact that like I liked how they're like, oh, you know what? Like when we're looking at, we're seeing these, and they get almost like have these glimpses, like they show like the scene of like Trunks fighting like Frieza and whatnot, like this, and they're trying to make out like almost like what is this kind of stuff that's been going on for like the last like 30, 40 years? Like who are these like guys showing up and so on, and how the fact that actually Cell was invented because they thought that these aliens were going to destroy Earth, so Cell was put there to try to take care of it, to fix that problem. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing because it's like I don't really remember that. Maybe it was in there. It's been a while since I've watched the Cell saga, but like just the fact that like, oh, okay, so like in a sense in their mind, Cell was not a bad thing whatsoever. Like he was put together. It wasn't just like a crazy man's experiment gone wrong or anything like that. It was like literally like no. The whole point of this is just to really make sure that these guys, these aliens, are stopped because we don't know what's going on. And I do think the interesting thing is making Capsule Corp, because that's kind of the rival company. They're like, there's something up with that company. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff that we just don't understand and don't want to know about. You know what I mean? And yeah, they like all these people are like aliens, and Bulma's an alien and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's even the small things of just like he's getting out of prison. Like, what's a Dragon Ball prison yard look like? Because you're just so used to kind of like people going to hell and escaping, two demons in like tank tops,
Yeah.
And this, it's like you don't see the prison yard. We don't see him have to shank anybody, but just it's kind of like a very cartoonish over the top thing. But I think it still kind of works. We see him get kicked out of prison, and then like he has his bags. He throws something in there. As he's walking away, has the explosion behind him. Like, fuck those guys. And that's where he's just like, just got out of prison and felt the need to send an explosive off in prison. And then like in the car pulls up. Hey, need a ride? Like maybe. It's like, get in the car, dude. He just blew up a fucking prison.
Yeah, exactly. One of those kind of things. But I do think that there is just some cool stuff kind of going on there of that, like almost in this world, it's almost like maybe people have hearsay of these like really big battles, but nobody really has ever, it's not just like there's really a whole lot of record evidence on it, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, they just know that, hey, there's like this kid with a tail that won the championship a few times back in the day.
Yeah.
There's this thing called Cell. Every so often, every few months.
I guess the Cell thing was broadcasted, now that I think about that.
But then every so often, there's like a big like mushroom cloud in a wasteland somewhere, and I wonder if the flying people were involved. So I guess I like that they're expanding on that and like bringing up, acknowledging the way this world functions, rather than like, I appreciate the fact that the way the nonchalantness of it, of how, hey man, you're here to see kung fu and flying and lasers. That's what you're here for. All right. So that's what we're going to give you. But it doesn't bother me if they stop and ask a few questions about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because it's like one of those ones, like at the end of the day, my favorite Dragon Ball always is the very first book / season of Dragon Ball, and that actually goes kind of with Z as well too. I think both those ones are kind of like the best ones, mainly for the fact that I like, because those are the eras where they actually have the straight adventure, because past those like seasons, the adventure aspect pretty much goes away. It's the same thing with Dragon Ball. Like once you get about season 2, the adventure aspect's just gone, and it's just pure fighting till the very end.
Well, here's the thing it's interesting about both Dragon Ball A and Dragon Ball Z for me. When I was younger, my favorite saga was probably the Cell saga, and Dragon Ball. Like I liked Dragon Ball, but I wasn't in love with it. But now, in hindsight, I got to rewatch Dragon Ball, because now I'm like, I think I like the very concept of Dragon, because I watched Dragon Ball season 1 up through halfway of season 2, and I've seen all of Dragon Ball Z. I'm at that point where, yeah, do I like big, long battles? I do, but I also kind of like the adventureness of it. Like I remember I was rewatching Dragon Ball Z a few years back, And I was like, you know what? I still like the later seasons and all that, but really the best part is Piccolo training Gohan, him being out in the wilderness, that whole kind of thing, and then dealing
All the
with
Snake Way stuff.
yeah, and all the build up to dealing with Nappa and Vegeta, like that. I think is season 1. I think is the best period of Dragon Ball Z. In all honesty.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it's kind of like I felt like it feels like a Akira Toriyama start off, and it's like you have the great story and everything like that, and then it just came to the point where like, you want me to do 15 pages every single week? Well, okay, I got a way to solve this, because that's like literally how Dragon Ball is. It's like, okay, Goku just literally each book just fights somebody else for the entire book practically, and it's literally like season practically about from halfway through season, or I guess it's almost like book 2/season 2 or whatever, or like that kind of section is literally just all world tournament. That's all it is. Like it's like you have this great adventure for like the very first season, and then after that it's like world tournament the whole time. And it's not that it's bad. Like I still like all the fighting and so on like that, but I just almost wish they would have just a little bit more adventure aspects in there, because I think that's always my favorite part. As I said, it's like one of the best ones too. Is like if you pick up the very first book, just like the one. They make the graphic novel set nowadays. It has like 1, 2, 3 in it. Like that section of those first 3 books, that's the best stuff that I think he's ever made. Is those first ones right there? It's like it's amazing. I mean, it's got all kinds of great adventure. I feel like you're getting kind of Dragon Ball a little bit more raw because it's only coming from one man, and yeah, it's so good. And as I said, like, don't get me wrong, I like all this other stuff too, and the fighting's great and all, but there is that kind of point where like you almost get fighting fatigue. I think it's like, and I notice this actually happens in a lot of mangas though. Is like the first book will start off with a great adventure, and then next thing you know, they just start fighting for like the rest of it. So I feel like they run out of ideas, and the companies just want them to keep like turning out pages. So the easiest way to do it is just make long ass fights that you don't have to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. When I rebought all of Dragon Balls on DVD, for Dragon Ball Z on DVD and was rewatching them, at some point I was like, you know what? I get it. It's a big fight. It's a big fight. I get it. Let me jump halfway through the season. So I'm like, yeah, they have whole seasons where it's just them standing in the same area fighting again. Like, yeah, I kind of forgot about this. When you're waiting on it as a kid to see what happens next, you're like, what's going to happen? Like, oh, he got the upper hand. No, wait, he got the upper hand. Oh, wait, he has a new form. Wait, he's not really dead. Oh, he killed Trunks. Oh, now he's back and now he's pissed, And then there's this thing of like, I get it. We can jump. I can watch the first couple episodes. We'll skip the middle. We'll get to right where, he kills Trunks and we can go from there. I get it. We don't need to spend this much time in the same 20 feet.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying there's breaks. Like season 4 is another amazing season of Dragon Ball Z because that's the one where it's split up nicely into like a handful of different adventures. There's the Garlic Jr. saga. There's Future Trunks versus that Frieza, and then there's the beginning part of the androids into like Cell being kind of started, and that stuff's all great because that actually does have some adventure. It's got some kind of horror. It's got some kind of like dread and so on kind of going on, But yeah, as I said, like it's one of those ones. Don't get me wrong, I love a good fight, but as I said, and it happens. It's not like Dragon Ball's the only one. I mean, even Baki's like that too. The first season of Baki is like great. There's like tons of adventures. He's going off and all this kind of stuff, and then it starts getting into the point where it's like, okay, now he's just in a tournament for like the next 3 seasons. Like is it a different tournament? No, it's the same tournament.
Well, I do just appreciate how like Baki's like, hey, it's the real world. Wink. And then, at some point, you got a guy who's so strong, he like blew into the ear of a guy, his brains shoot out the other ear. The guy's like, there's the guy who's just like, wait, is he who I think he is? He rolls up his sleeve like, Lady Liberty's the one that almost got away. And like, wait, he's the guy who almost destroyed the Statue of Liberty. Just like, like, wait, did he have a bomb? No, he punched it really hard. So just the level of like absurdity of that show is like enough.
And that's the second Baki show. Like I was talking about more actually like the original Baki one. Like that's the one where
that one.
It's got like it's really good. It's like one of those ones I feel like a lot of people haven't really watched that one, but yeah, it's got the whole beginnings more about him as like like a 12-year-old boy training up, getting to like that point and going through all kinds of stuff. So it's got more cool training. He travels around the world. It's got like that Street Fighter kind of feel to it. But then it eventually does get to the point where he's in a tournament forever.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out because I was watching the newer version, and
that one's good too, because I literally read the entire manga series of that, because at one point it was like on Kindle Unlimited, they're like, here's all like 20 or 32 books. I'm like, yeah, because you go through them really fast because there's just a lot of giant splash panel punching scenes and so on.
The dude getting punched in the ribs and then like spitting out blood, and then he takes one of his ribs and stabs somebody, something crazy like that shit.
Yeah, because I feel like I could read one of those books in like 1/3 the time of like a normal book.
Well, there's 15 splash panels, and that's the book. Okay.
Yeah, that's almost kind of like how it goes. It's like it's a great, amazing artwork, but yeah, it's like it's a lot of big panels, and more just like not necessarily as much talking, but
every
still,
book is
I still
every
love the
issue
living
is
daylights out of
Superman.
Baki, but yeah.
I have to check that one out. But I guess something I was going to say about Dragon Ball, like I guess I could use less of the we got to stand here and have this long over like battle. I think this movie has a good balance of like I think they could have had more time focusing on Gohan and his relationship with Pan, and I don't mean do like some heavy drama, but just have him have that realization that he's spending less time, like he's becoming like his dad, but in a way he didn't account for, and he still seems kind of oblivious like his dad in some ways. Like there's the part where I even thought it was kind of funny, like the guy pulls a gun on him and he just flicks the gun away, no big deal, like I got to get back to work, man. Like that's kind of how he's treating it. But then the second he realizes they took Pan, that's where he goes full like Super Saiyan, like the fuck did you do? Like, all right, okay, cool, I want to see this. And then but like I just think they did a little too much of like Piccolo. It was a little like, I'm not going to say it was hard to follow, but it was a little kind of like slightly overly complicated. Like, okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to tell Bulma what's going on. Oh, you can't get a hold of him? Okay, I'm going to go back and see what's going on. Hey, Pan, you're going to get kidnapped by them, so your dad can get mad and actually, get his ass in like fighting shape. Okay, cool. Now we're going to go back over here. I'm going to hide in the corner. It was still enjoyable still, but we could have cut to the chase a bit quicker.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not bad, but yeah, it definitely kind of there. And so on. Though it is once again, I'll at least give it credit that like Piccolo is pretty much just always there the whole time, just kind of doing that stuff, And I even then like is once they kind of get to like the main sort of fight and they all kind of break in there, and then like because he sends word, he's like, Bulma, you gotta bring me more fighters, and then she's like, okay, here's the ones I can find. You know what I mean? These are the last ones on Earth. Don't let any of their parents know.
Yeah. Well, it's also even that was like, okay, cool, Krillin's here for a minute, but they still treat Krillin like a fucking joke. I feel like they've recently, I didn't see the last few seasons of Super, but I feel like he's coming back around. Like, no, he's not the best fighter, but he's reliable. And he's a tactician. And the idea that he's like, well, I'm just gonna stand back and make sure Bulma and Pan are safe. And then, granted, he has something to do at the very end, which helps win the fight. But for a long time, it's just kind of like ass end of every joke,
Well, I think that's always, as I said, that's also been another thing that's always kind of bothered me just to sort of in Dragon Balls. I always just I don't care. It's we live in a magical world. Find a way to make Yamcha, Tien, Krillin, all those guys. Like I feel like they should almost be able to equal out to like a Saiyan at some point. You know what I mean? Because there's something about Dragon Ball that almost is that kind of thing. Well, are you a human? Yeah. Well, you ain't gonna get that strong. You're not a Saiyan. You're not a Namek, and you're not an android. Good fucking luck in life.
Don't worry, we got a nice, cozy seat for you on the couch at the Kame house. We'll watch it all from the safety, from the TV right here.
Yeah. Or, here's the thing. You know what? You want something to do? Go find some fucking Dragon Balls. You know what I mean? It's something a human can do. I mean, it's slower than anybody else can do it, but whatever.
And, at some point, a bad guy's going to corner you and threaten to kill you. But you know what? One of us will come in time, just in time to save you. So it's okay. Don't strive for more.
Yeah, it's the only thing is I don't care. I always just wish there was some way that they found to equal those characters out. I think that's the thing. It always kind of because it's weird because it's almost weird to think about. You build up all these main characters, in Dragon Ball, and then all of a sudden it's almost like they just dump them off on the side just to get a whole brand new roster other than Goku in a sense. There, I mean, yeah, I know Krillin, Piccolo's kind of there, here and there, but like they really almost just become like cheerleaders almost at the end of the day.
What I did like about Resurrection F is characters you didn't initially assume popped in for the battle. Like I don't know how this is all going to go, but we'll see. And they had you expect Gohan to be there at that point in time, but then they also had Tien and Roshi joining the fight.
Yeah, that was actually pretty sweet in that one.
Tien and Roshi are actually doing something cool.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, I'm not saying, like, you know, once in a while that they have kind of brought them back, I think, of some of the newer stuff and so on, you know, but they do have actually kind of a cool lineup once, like, the big battle starts to happen where, okay, you got Goku, you got Piccolo, and you got Gohan, but then it's like, oh, they bring in Trunks and Goten, and they're, like, now, you know, like that, like, 18-year-old age or something like that, maybe 17 or something like that there, and then, you know, you got Android 18, you got, you know, Krillin there, even though once he does do something there, he does have a moment where he kind of busts and he throws a Destructo Disc. He does a solar flare and everything. At first I was like, oh, it's just going to be badass. Maybe Krillin. And it's like, no, like a couple seconds later, he just gets like bitch slapped across the screen.
Yeah. Well, I do like the connection. They acknowledge that, like, Gohan, I mean, I know you were just going to come, but just to bring it back on like themes and then it's carrying over, because Dragon Ball, it's not like, and it's not meant to be, it doesn't have to be, but it's not really the deepest or most emotional thing out there. You know, it is really like, hey man, let's find a cool reason to have a fight. And that's what it is. But I do appreciate when they do stop and try to get a little bit more like connecting themes and whatnot. Like, for instance, how Gohan finishes off Cell Max with Piccolo's move.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was kind of a cool moment and kind of saying, you know, Piccolo is more his dad than Goku by this point.
Yeah, like one of those ones. Like, that's kind of like how it sort of is. He's like my two dads.
Yeah.
You know, but they even bring back like a lot of just like small references that are just there for like some like kind of hardcore DBZ fans. Because I like when like Piccolo's stealing like the plane or whatever and taking Pan with it and stuff. He's like, "You're not very good at flying." He's like, "Yeah, I never got my driver's license." You know, referring to that episode, that's a great. See, those are the kind of episodes I love. Are like those ones where it's like, okay, we step away for a while and we do some other things, and we have a good time where we expand on just like kind of like more adventure and aspects like that. And even the part 2 where it's like later on, and then like I think Krillin says it, but he's like Piccolo, why don't you turn big like you did at like the World's Martial Arts Tournament, you know, in season 4, like one of those kind of things. Season 4, episode 96. You know, probably a little bit farther than that, but you know, it practically felt like one of those. He's like, oh yeah, I could do that. He's like, once again, for all you stupid youngins out in the audience, let me remind you real quick.
What was it? There is also, I kind of wish they had him in because he's wearing like some street clothes in the DMV episode. I wish there was like an action figure of Piccolo in his like super 90s street clothes.
Oh, that'd be so amazing, you know? Yeah. I would love to just have the set where it's both Goku and Piccolo in their casual attire.
Oh, there we go. Like that right there.
Yeah. So the purple sleeves and everything, the backwards hat.
The undershirt, he's wearing the shirt says Post Boy on it. Backwards hat. I really want like an action figure of that shit. I want just even like a framed picture of Piccolo like on the family mantle, like arms crossed, looking like that. Right next to a picture of the grandparents, wedding picture, family.
Tom Morello as a kid.
Just have that mixed up in the mantle somewhere, just Piccolo in street clothes.
Exactly. That is such an amazing kind of look there and so on like that, you know. And then I mean, this always feels just more like nostalgia stuff. I also like when Goten and Trunks they do the fusion dance and they screw it up because they haven't done it in a while. So you get the fat version. I felt like I haven't seen the fat version in a while.
Well, I also appreciate that because it's one of those things like they bring up a question like what happens. Well, I guess we already know what happens. We've seen it in season 1 of Dragon Ball Z. But like when Goku or Vegeta, the time they were fighting Vegeta, when Goku's not there, everybody else has to step in and just kind of when he's never going to be there in time. What do? It's like, well, this is who we put together. We can't, and like they get across, they can't get a hold of Goku or Vegeta because of ice cream
dish on top.
Over top of this thing, you know.
That's part of the really goofy stuff. Signs they kind of have. It's like, oh, okay,
I guess that's original Dragon Ball, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm just kind of like, we could have less of this right now. Yeah. We just cut to the chase. I mean, there's the whole like I'll say in Bulma's birthday party and in Battle of the Gods. I thought that was kind of funny, making Vegeta the guy who has to keep everybody calm and walking on eggshells because usually like I don't give a fuck, I'll do what I want. I'm the Prince of all Saiyans. Well, this is the one time where he's like, we can't piss this guy off, you know, like, and he has to get up on stage to like draw attention away from something just happened. He's like, bingo, we're doing bingo. Like, so like the one time you see Vegeta act like that, like, okay, this is worth it. That's good. But after a while, it's like, okay, I get it. Barbecue, Goku likes to eat. He's oblivious. Yeah.
Well, sometimes like those jokes are like these are those ones. I mean, they're almost kind of like how like Marvel sort of jokes sometimes are. There's the jokes that's like, okay, that joke feels like it could fit in the story. And that's mostly what Dragon Ball has. Dragon Ball's jokes in that series, they fit in the story. And then there's sort of jokes that they almost feel like, it almost feels like a fan kind of made joke. Like it almost feels like this is like a Newgrounds skit that someone kind of had. Like, hey, Vegeta has to be the distracting guy to do that. But then they fit it into real Dragon Ball. And it's not saying that it can't be funny, but sometimes it feels like that some of those ones, not necessarily that one, but it's like the ice cream eating and so on like that, like in this movie here, where it feels like I could see that as like sort of a fan-made side joke that's just there, like, oh, just imagine these aliens eating ice cream or something like that. But sometimes when you see it in like the real movie, it's like, that seems kind of weird.
Also, it was just this weird moment where like Beerus was like
getting
rapey with the green girl from Broly.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, who's that over there? And it's like, and then it's just literally like his ears stick up like he just got like a fucking boner,
or his tail just went up like that.
Oh yeah, that was what it was. It was his tail. That's what it was. Yeah.
Or it's like, that could have gone a lot worse. It's Japan. It could have gone a lot worse. So I'm like, good. You contained yourself. Cool.
Yeah, good thing he passed out after all that ice cream.
Yeah. Well, it also made it up like, he's like, you're cute. Like, oh my God, he actually has an attraction to somebody. And then at the same time, he's like, I'll help you get the, he's very like, what is this love I feel? Okay. Like there's this, that can kind of go either way. Where it went, I was like, ooh, this isn't going to go good. And like, oh, okay. It's still kind of up in the air, whatever they do with it.
If this is a rated R movie, it could go darker real quick.
Like, how badly do you want this planet not to explode?
Yeah, exactly. And then like picking that poor up the other guy fucking clean all the dishes.
Yeah. I guess they're trying to find something to do with that because those characters survived Broly. I'm like,
yeah.
Do we really need another like 3 or 4 people taking up room on the fucking Kame Island? Do we really need that? No, let's keep them over here.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually like those two characters quite a bit, but it is that kind of thing that how many characters can you kind of add up? And Master Roshi, I mean, like how many people can he fucking adopt to like his like 1-bedroom apartment or a 1-bedroom house on an island?
I feel like even Goku's like, hey, so maybe we can all go to the your master's island, and like even Goku's like, you don't want to go there. To the green girl, it's like, you don't want to go there. Chill here. The cat is
Lunch went there 35 years ago and's never left. No shit, it's been longer than that. It's like 45 years by now, because I was trying to think about, I'm like Goku, that means Goku and Vegeta are like in their 50s by this point.
Well, this even played it off like it's so maybe it must have been like
because Gohan's pretty old by this point. You know what I mean? I always feel I feel like it's like he's like in his 30s.
Gohan's in his 20s or 30s. I think that by this point, like, because it's implied that they're all like the Goku and Bulma and Chi-Chi are like in their 20s in Dragon Ball Z, like probably late 20s and early 30s.
Well, because Bulma's like 5 years older than Goku, or I think she's actually more than that. I think she's like 6 or 7 years older than Goku.
Yeah.
Because Goku, I think, is 10 in the very first one. I think she's 16.
Yeah. And that means they're going to be all in there. Because they said like, a few years back, and they show the Frieza thing, like Goten and Trunks weren't even born yet. You're saying a few years back? Don't you mean like a decade and change?
I feel like it's got kind of clustered in like the last, like ever since Super, I feel like it's got some kind of new 52s where it goes a couple forward, then it kind of goes back, then it kind of recalculates and tries to balance it.
Well, where I left off on Super, Goten and Trunks were still little kids. So I'm guessing maybe I'm not sure when that time jump happens. Now they're teenagers.
Yeah, because I'm not too sure, but I just know it feels like it's kind of a little bit of a cluster in that, even though you got Kira Toriyama on there. So you think that would keep it a little bit more in check. But
I feel like even then, like, it's Dragon Ball. Who gives a shit? It's just all over the place. It's random. Just look, it's a cool explosion. A planet blew up.
I mean, I still think there's more to it than just like the straight action. Like I would like there is like the coherent of the characters, and there is like a thing of like because the message of it is like to always be stronger so that you can kind of protect yourself. It gives like almost old school like don't be a fucking pussy meanings. I think to life. I think is what Dragon Ball sort of does. That's why I always feel Dragon Ball is like it's the show that teaches boys to become men in a sense.
It's kind of like I'm not trying to dismiss it like it's a dumb show.
And women become women.
It's a show that's like, I'm not trying to dismiss it away. It's just a show that is very much like, I think, let's have some fun. Let's put on a cool spectacle. And these characters have been here long enough, so now we can maybe retroactively add context or kind of explain certain things away, which makes sense. I mean, if you have a show going on for like almost 30 years, you're going to eventually need to bring up certain things and just address it to move forward.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, overall though, this movie was still super fun. Once you get to the action, I feel like that even the CG action kind of works fine in that kind of style. Because once the battles kind of happen, I feel like you kind of pay less attention to like the CG animation than you do like in the like, you know, when they're just kind of hanging out talking to each other. It's got some of that kind of weird turns and movements to it.
Yeah, no, there is some. Yeah, the action is really good. Like you said, sometimes there are those moments where I think the one that's really glaring from Broly is when Goku and Vegeta are all doing this blast, has a 360 spin around them. Like that's really glaring. But there are moments in this where it has some of that, but sometimes it just kind of blends in and you kind of forget you're watching it. But it varies from case to case.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but I think that's kind of like maybe the only thing that's kind of like, as well as what I feel like you can't help but bring that up, you know what I mean? Because it's just always kind of sticks out a little bit. You know, maybe kids, if this was the first Dragon Ball movie you ever watched, you might just, you know, that would be it. But, you know, you just accept this as the norm.
Well, the animation in Broly is so good too, and so fluid.
Yeah.
Like the action, and you know, people who don't even really like Dragon Ball or don't really keep up with Dragon Ball, like I watch Double Toasted from time to time. Well, I actually watch them a lot, but like they saw Dragon Ball Broly, and they were like, "Here's the thing: I didn't keep up with the show. I don't really know the show. I was really lost on what was going on. But at the end of the day, it was a cool action scene, and I realized why people like this, and I get why it was fun just to be. It was just fun to watch this crazy spectacle and how cool the animation was and character design was."
And I think that's kind of especially with the movies. The movies just like that's the perfect place for like those just big old battles and everything like that. Is I think they work great in like kind of like the movies and so on like that, where you could just have all this cool, fantastic animation, tons of cool action, just these monster battles, people going all kinds of powerful. You know what I mean? Like that stuff's really neat.
Yeah, and I hope they come out with more of these movies. I've been hearing, I guess there's been rumblings about Dragon Ball Super coming back, or it's just going to continue through movies. I don't know what they're doing. I haven't really kept up with that, but I enjoyed this. And at the very end, I do think it's kind of funny. Like we saw a little bit of the battle happening back on Beerus's dimension or whatever, but then we see the very end of the fight, and they're just we missed the majority of it. They're at the point where it's like you said, they're tuckered out. And it basically was a standstill, but since he was the last one standing, Vegeta finally won, and it doesn't treat it like this big, like, he won. It's like, oh, good for you, you won. And like,
he tips over.
And then Goku's like, good job, Vegeta. Vegeta's like, yes.
So it's like, yeah, it's the greatest thing ever for him and so on like that. No, I thought that was cool. And just the fact that, yeah, here's this little thing in the background and whatnot. But, yeah, no, overall though, it's still the whole movie's fun. Like so, and I can't imagine, especially if these movies keep making more gangbusters of money and so on like that. You know, I mean, in Japan, these things always do good. So the Japan's like, wait, always is going to be a number one selling movie. You know what I mean? But like in the U.S., I think of the fact that like when you keep seeing these movies, like each time they keep coming out, because I remember like I think it was Resurrection F. They're like, here's one special screening. You know, if you can't make it, then sucks to be you. Yeah, exactly. And then it was like one of those ones. It's like, oh, well, that'd be kind of good. Well, okay, I think on Broly, let's try it again. I remember Broly's like, we'll give it 2 days, and then they did 2 days. Like that made so much money. Give it a week. Like they literally, it went from being like a movie is only there Thursday and Friday, and the next thing you know, they're like, no, actually carry this out the rest of the week. Whatever some of these other movies are, just toss those in the trash. Who cares about these other ones that came out? This movie's making way more money.
Well, it's also something to the effect of like this one doesn't have like for 5 days only. A week only. This thing has like a normal release, right?
Yeah, it literally, I think it's 2 weeks worth of like show dates, just like everywhere and so on like that. So I think the fact that this is making a bunch of money. I mean, granted, it comes out at a nice time where it's not really competing with anything except for maybe the Brad Pitt movie, but that's already 2 weeks out. And it's that kind of, I mean, granted, it's Dragon Ball. Like that's the thing is people that show up for Dragon Ball, they're coming for Dragon Ball, and it's actually a perfect example of like generally, like, this thing can make a lot of money off just the fans alone. But I think it's also because in general, like, it doesn't really matter if you meet another guy out there, like, they could come from all walks of life, but there's almost like that union of like everybody likes Dragon Ball. You know what I mean? You could have the most blue collar, hardest working guy who you feel like would never like give cartoons a chance. Like, I love me some fucking Dragon Ball Z. You know what I mean?
When I lived in San Francisco, there was a theater, an independent theater that was playing, it played both Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F. And every time I went to that theater, it was sometimes more crowded than like a new Marvel movie coming out.
Yeah,
like because I think they people who know about it, like, well, it's only going to be here for this many days, we got to go see it. Now I went to this one. I was one of 3 people in the theater, but all the other show times were sold out. So maybe just
that
kids don't like to get up at 11:30, I guess. I don't know, but it was just like, I'm glad this thing is making money.
Yeah, because where I was at, it was pretty jam packed. You know, it probably was more people than Doctor Strange on opening day. So, you know, and I think that's kind of it too. It's like Dragon Ball's probably one of those ones where people do just like they hear wind of this, they come out of the woodworks. And this movie had like no advertising. Like, it literally just popped up. I was like, oh shit. I was like, what movies are coming out next week? And it's like, oh, Dragon Ball is? What the hell?
I thought it was interesting just seeing this movie, kind of knowing I'm sitting in the theater for a Dragon Ball movie. And it's not like a Fathom Events kind of thing. Because I feel like the first 2, or the first 3 even, were somewhat treated kind of like a Fathom Events type thing.
Yeah, and 1 or 2 showings.
Yeah, and this one has like just the main casual movie treatment. And just sitting in the theater waiting for a Dragon Ball movie and seeing, like, I know it's by theater and chain or whatever, but still, just like, you guys are putting a trailer to that new Christopher Nolan movie before Dragon Ball. You guys are putting that trailer to that, like, Get Out, but it's vampires thing for like Dragon Ball, you know? So
those are all the trailers I had too.
So it's kind of like, oh wow, yeah, Dragon Ball's really moved on up in the world.
Yeah, I think that's the most magical part of it, is that, like, it's just so cool seeing this. You know, it's just like finally we're getting some more kind of like respect for these kind of things and getting them out there in theaters, and it just makes the biggest difference. You see anything in the theaters, it makes such a big difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have yet to see this movie, go out and do yourself a favor, and, like, you know, the more people that go see this, the more chances that more animes and things like that will actually come to cinemas, and they won't be a special event, and they'll just be treated like regular movies. And that's just so cool, you know? So good times in store there. But beyond all that kind of fun, good time stuff, you can go check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comic books like Pizza Boys, all our old animations, and all that kind of good stuff. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.